In this video, I'm going to go over some good prompting practices that you can use with your AI agents in order to be able to get them to do what you actually want. All right, now I've seen too many people come and they create their AI agent. We'll do this, set to define system prompt and like, you are a helpful email agent who sends emails, be polite and proper. Include a signature at the end saying Bradford. And they're like, okay, that's a good prompt. Let's go ahead and move on. And I'm like, that is such a bad prompt. That is so terrible. Like, it doesn't tell the bot how to do anything. If you did that kind of prompt, like, you're not gonna get a good result. And even if I said, make it in HTML, include line breaks. I mean, you might get something that might be passable if you did that, okay, by adding that. So HTML being the kind of code that makes it look pretty, and line breaks, adding spacing between your stuff. But you're not telling this agent pretty much anything. Like, who is it? What is it doing? Why is it helping you? Why isn't it writing these emails? If you don't give it the context, it's just going to write stuff, and it might write really short stuff. It might write really grandiose stuff. You're not giving it any guidelines on how you want it to be. What is your voice? What is it that this agent is supposed to be? So we're going to delete that, get rid of that. I'm going to show you how to do some better prompting, okay? So I've kind of put some stuff in here. I just got a click trigger. There's nothing in this click trigger. I'm not even going to run this bot, so I'm not attaching an AI agent to it. I'm just going to show you some stuff. All right, now the first thing I need to do here is I need to show you inside these AI agents. And I guess you could technically create like a different kind of AI agent. So there's openai, there's the basic LLM chain, information extractors, question answer chains. They all have the ability, I'll do an information extractor. They all have the ability of having a system prompt, okay? You absolutely 100% want to set a system prompt to be able to tell the AI agent how to do the thing that you're asking it to do. All right. As for the text section or the input section or the user prompt, that's where we pass the information that the agent is operating on in this iteration. Okay. So understand that when we're doing AI agents, there's two prompts that you always want to make sure you have. You want your user prompt and your system prompt. All right. The user prompt is for the information that we are giving this run, this turn, this operation, this execution, whatever you want to call it. This time, this is the information that you're getting that you're operating on. All right. You don't want to include instructions to the agent in the system prompt, or in the user prompt. You want to include it in the system prompt. Instructions go in the system prompt. Information goes in the user prompt, okay? On the top, user prompt, on the bottom, system prompt. Just remember that, okay? User prompt is where the inputs go. System prompt is where the instructions go. And so when I set up my user prompts, I always do it this way. I will do it in some way that I have its information, the headline of the information that the bot is getting is set aside, usually with asterisks. I usually capitalize everything. I make it so incredibly painfully obvious that this is the thing that you're getting for this type of data. All right? Because if you just feed it JSON like this, unless you're dealing with just a straight like chatbot where I'm gonna copy this in case it deletes it. So if I'm doing just a straight chatbot where it's just getting the chat input, all it's getting is text. If you're giving it any kind of data that is variable, it doesn't know what this variable is. It does not know what the variable is. I see too many people making this mistake. Like, I watch people in their YouTube videos and they're just like, oh, you just drag this over, put that there, and now it knows what this is. It doesn't know what it is. It's going to get the data. Sure, it gets the data, and every time it runs, it's going to get the data for that iteration of the run, but it doesn't know what the data is or what it's supposed to be or what title it has. And so if you try to reference the data in your system prompt, it doesn't know that that's what this particular piece of data is. So I've seen people string, JavaScript after JavaScript after JavaScript, all of different variables, and just give it the information, it'll process it. Better prompting is you tell it what this piece of data is. So here I just have placeholder underscore setting. And I did that because I asked ChatGPT to make me just a generic system prompt with generic information to create a metal song. Just whatever. Because I was listening to metal yesterday, that's why. And it created, placeholder underscore setting as a piece of data that it expects here in the system prompt. And I'll come down here and I'll show you. So it's expecting here in our example placeholder setting. So it's going to fill in its example in the placeholder setting where something bleeds. I'm like, okay, that is metal, man. You went straight to blood, bro, yo. So I up here in my user prompt, I'm going to let it know the placeholder setting is this. That way, the model doesn't have to try to guess. It doesn't have to go searching and try to figure out from this big block of text it got what the setting is supposed to be. You just tell it. All right, by just telling it, now it doesn't have to guess. It knows exactly what it's supposed to do. It moves on. It's going to use the same number of tokens, but it's going to be able to get it right every time. All right, so placeholder theme, and I just added placeholder theme, and placeholder character archetype, and here's the placeholder character archetype. And so what it'll do is if I had actually mapped this information over here, it's going to fill this in, and it's going to be able to see the setting is this, the theme is this, the character is this, the da-da-da is this, and it doesn't have to guess. All right, now for the actual system prompt where we give in the instructions, we break these up into different categories, all right? It's important to give it as much context as you can. And I mean, you might think, oh, isn't that a lot of text? I mean, this is only, a couple hundred tokens. It's not a lot. If you're using something like 4.1 mini, this is gonna cost you less than a cent to send to the AI, and when you get your response back, it's gonna be less than a cent. So if you're fretting about price, then you're overthinking this, because generally speaking, even if this was 1,000 tokens, the cost per million tokens for 4.1 mini, I think is 40 cents. I think it's 40 cents input. And so if this was 1,000 token system prompt, that's not even 100th. All right, 1,000 is a million. So we're talking 1,000th of 40 cents. So that's, 0.04 cents for 1,000 tokens. Don't worry about the price. People are like, oh, you don't want too big a system prompt, it's going to cost you too much. Yeah, if you're using the new Claude 4 that just came out, you definitely got to be concerned about the price. But if you're hammering out stuff through Claude 4, I don't think you care about the price at that point. Not too much. You want your system prompt to get the result that you want, so you don't have to try again and again and again because there's a bunch of errors. Get it right the first time. So this is what we do. We tell the model what it is. Who are you? Because large language models are really good at mimicking personas. That's kind of what their thing is. That's what made them so good and why we're able to build off of them so well, is we're able to tell it, you are a world-class researcher. You are the world's best poet. You are a typical 14-year-old girl who's going to respond in, alpha speak. All right. And guess what? It's going to do it because it takes on the persona. So the first thing that we do is we tell it who it is and what it's supposed to do, just top level. So you are the world's greatest metal lyricist, hailed by the International Metal Hall of Fame. All right, so it knows, man, I make good metal, and so it's going to be. That's what it thinks. That's what it's going to. It's going to adjust the algorithm that it uses in order to pick the next token based on that. All right, so if you don't tell it who it is, then it kind of uses a fairly standard methodology of picking the next token, but by telling it what it is, it changes the algorithm. So now that's metal, right? Right on. Okay, so next we tell it what it's supposed to do. And this is just top level. So its mission is to take the raw inputs containing that information and transform it into the most powerful, evocative, and headbang worthy metal lyrics ever written, as an example. So for you, you would tell it what you want it to do. We give it its objectives. That's the next thing you want it to do. What is its goal? Why is it here today? What is it supposed to accomplish? Okay, it must use a chain of thought to take the ideas and convert them into a fully realized metal lyrics. It needs to incorporate elements of imagery, symbolism, emotion, and mythology where appropriate. It needs to output a final output that feels authentic and do not generate sample content. And that's just because ChatGPT, I told it to create. I have a system prompt generator that I use, and it's really good. Really good. And it was almost too literal, so I actually don't need that. That's not necessarily important for this. But we give it an objective first. So what is it trying to do? What's it need to do in the thing that it's doing? And how is it supposed to output? All right. We then make sure that it has a chain of thought. Now, I would say most AIs should have chain of thought. And this is not for reasoning models. This is for standard large language models. We're talking ChatGPT 4.1. We're talking probably Claude. I think Claude works as well. At least 2.5, 2.7 Sonnet. If you're talking about like DeepSeek R1, no, because that's a reasoning model. Reasoning models are different. They don't need to have a chain of thought strategy included in them because they already do that. You don't need to include it. So this is just for standard models. All right, include a chain of thought. Now, why do we include a chain of thought? Because we want it to go through a process that will allow the thinking behind how it comes up with the next token to generate the right one. All right, so it first needs to alter its algorithm to create the right set of variables to get the next token before we want it just generating tokens. And that's what the chain of thought does. It has it think really quick. It changes the way the algorithm outputs information by having this in here. Okay, so we have it understand everything first. It gets the basics of what it needs to do. It needs to break down what it's going to do, analyze everything in the information that we've given it. Then it needs to build, and it needs to understand that there are edge cases, and it needs to understand what the final output is going to be. All right? And if you don't have all of those elements, the agent is more likely to hallucinate. It's more likely to just string stuff together that doesn't necessarily fit what we want. By giving it the chain of thought, and there's tons of research papers out there that say that when you tell it how to do a chain of thought strategy, it always produces better results. And in fact, it almost gets them close to thinking like reasoning models in some cases by giving them the right chain of thought strategy. All right, so it needs to understand, it needs to grasp the basics, it needs to break down what it's doing, it needs to analyze all of the information for different variables. It needs to understand how it's supposed to build the thing in the first place that you're asking it to build or to output. It needs to understand that there are edge cases, and you should explain what those edge cases are. And it needs to understand what the final output is supposed to look like. Okay? After that, you tell it what its output is supposed to look like. Don't just let it guess. Don't just give it free reign on what to output. Instead, give it a sample. I want verse 1, I want a chorus, I want verse 2, I want a bridge, I want another chorus, I want an outro. All right, and if you want other verses, or if you want however your data needs to be structured. I'm using metal here just because it's so out there that I need you to understand that this can apply to your research paper or your business plan or your weather report that you want your AI agent to give you. How do you want it to output the information? All right, so for every single one of my agents, I do this. I want it to, so for my personal executive assistant, right? I have it give me a quip first, like, oh, you're looking for the weather. And then I would have it give me the actual weather, like, oh, according to our sources, it's going to rain today. And then I have it, close out, and with another quip, maybe you should bring your umbrella, just a thought. You don't have to listen to me. I'm an AI agent. Something like that, right? You want to give it a format that it can follow every single time. All right? Every single time. You don't want your AI agents guessing, or if you want it to make something completely different every single time, is an AI agent really the best thing? Like, is this workflow really the best thing for you? Because if you want different outputs, use a separate agent that creates a second option, and then just branch somewhere and figure out how the data gets to each of those agents. Because by giving it just one thing that it does really well, guess what? It does it really well. All right. And then we add a couple things down here. We have a what not to do. We always want to let the agent how to not screw up, because they're going to make mistakes. And if we can cut off those mistakes before it actually does make it, then it's less likely to make that mistake. All right, and so here, that was just ChatGPT being silly. So don't omit the chain of thought reasoning. It always needs to include the structured reasoning. Don't create generic, weak, or non-meta language, all right? Don't say happy or nice or cool as examples, all right? So for other agents, here, we'll grab this one real quick. So come on here. So down here, I have a prohibitions. Do not break character. Do not use narration or describe physical gestures. Do not refer to being a character or a bot or anything like that. All right. We tell it how not to screw up, because sometimes it'll do that. Like, I've had agents before I learned good prompting. It would like, when you're typing into ChatGPT, it will sometimes go, oh, that's a great idea. Let me go ahead and write your report for you. And then it writes the report. I don't want that extra stuff at the top, right? Or at the bottom, like, now that I've written this for you, you'll be able to go on. Like, I don't need that. So we tell it, don't include all that extra stuff. That way it knows not to, all right? So we just have a section for what not to do. And then we also, you would include a few shot examples, all right? And so this one doesn't actually have it. I think the one I just showed you here, I don't have an example. Here's the example. But you'll include a final note. You include examples. That way it understands. I know I have an agent here. Let's see. Database contact. Yeah, I think this one might work. Here. So I come down here. So here's an example of when responding. And so it should look like this. This is what it should do when it outputs the information. This is what it should look like. And so that's just an example. It's filled with placeholder. Do I have another example in here? Let's see. For each entry, show that. No, I guess not. Depending on how complicated, like if you got a lot of data coming in, I know I have one in here. I just don't know which agent had it. Maybe this one up here. So this one. So here's my example that I give it, and then here's my actual examples. So this was the format that I want it, and here's the example. Example 1, and I give it example 2. You always want to give it, not always, but like if you have a lot of data you're processing, give it examples of what actual data might look like. So we give it some input data, and here's the output data that it needs to structure it as. And this is particularly helpful when you're using like a structured output parser. All right, that way it knows here's a use case, and what the end result should be. That way it gets it right. And then maybe include some final thoughts as well. Often I'll use a final thoughts section as, I don't think it has it here, but we'll do like final thoughts. Never, ever use \n. Instead, use break. So if I wanted it to output HTML instead of Markdown, just one final time, please stop screwing up bot. You need to understand this. All right. And so that's how you do good prompting, is making sure you have all of this high level stuff and the nitty gritty all included in your system prompt. And again, this is only, maybe a couple hundred tokens. It's not going to cost you that much unless you're using a really high-end model. But again, if you're using a really high-end model, I'd rather get it right the first time than have it screwed up. So I'd rather have a longer system prompt. So again, who you are, what you're doing, your objective, your chain of thought. You want to include what the format edit output should look like, some what not to do's, and some examples, and then any final thoughts that you have. If you include all of those elements in your AI agent system prompt and you set up your inputs the way I showed you, your bots are going to work so much better than they currently do. All right. So if you found this tutorial helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. It really does help get this information out there to those who need it. Also, if you want more additional N8N tutorials or N8N workflows, I've got tons of them. Click the link in the description below to join my free school community. We got social media posting bots, we've got executive assistant bots, we've got business bots like marketing plan generators and things like that, all available free in the free school community. Just click that link in the description below. As always, I'm Bradford Carlton. Let's automate your success together.